I read somewhere that 80% of our internal dialogue about ourselves can be negative. It also said that 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. So if that's true, that means that we are just running through negative thoughts about ourselves on repeat all day in, day out. Does this sound familiar to you? I know that there are a lot of you out there that can relate to this, and just know that it's not just you. You're not alone in having these thoughts and feeling the way that you feel. It's in our nature, and you're totally normal, and nothing is wrong with you. The problem with this inner self shit talking we're doing is that these thoughts become beliefs, and your beliefs are what dictate not only your self-worth, but also your actions. So a practical example of this would be comparing I can't do this to I can't do this yet. Something that we would always say in roller derby. So especially when we were working with the littles, I would constantly be correcting them. Anytime they would tell me that they can't do something, we would say, you can't do it yet, right? So you can't skate backwards yet because we haven't learned it yet. You can't do a hockey stop yet because we haven't practiced it enough to learn it. It's funny how easily we can tell other people to change the way that they're thinking and replace their negative thoughts with something based in reality while we are just quietly destroying our own self-image in our own minds, right? But it's not just the internal negative self-talk that I want to talk about today. There are so many different mindset shifts that we can make and things that we're doing that are working against us when we have no idea that it's even happening. First on my list is the growth mindset. Have you heard of this phrase before? I've heard people mention growth mindset before, and tell me why I'm immediately annoyed by this. And every time I would hear this phrase, I would instinctively roll my eyes super hard. You want to hear something really funny? After actually looking this up and reading about it, I realized that this is probably one of my core beliefs. And I just think that it's hilarious that I was so fucking anti growth mindset about this thing that I'm currently practicing without even knowing that I'm doing it. It's just, why am I like this? I don't know. Something about that phrase just sounded really douchey and I don't know. I wasn't interested in learning about it, but let's actually look at what growth mindset is and what it means because it's actually pretty fucking cool. Here's what I found. Dr. Carol Dweck is the creator of this concept. And the idea is that if you believe that your qualities are unchangeable, that's what she's calling the fixed mindset. You will want to prove yourself correct over and over again rather than learning from your mistakes. But there's another mindset where you just do not accept that the hand that you're dealt is the hand that you're stuck with. And this is the growth mindset. You're always trying to convince yourself and others that there's more that you're meant for and that this is just your starting point. In the growth mindset, you believe that your basic qualities can be built upon, that if you put in the work, you can grow and change and evolve. I love this quote that she says, "Why waste your time proving over and over again how great you are when you could be getting better? Shut up and get better." Sounds familiar, right? I think for me, this concept really hits home because I used to have a fixed mindset. I used to feel stuck all the time. That the situation that I was born into, the family I grew up with, the way I was raised, all of that meant that I was destined to just be average. I grew up thinking that I was a bad kid, and I believed it to my core. So what did I do? I acted like a bad kid. I acted like an asshole, and I always felt like I couldn't do anything right because I was always being told all of the ways that I was getting it wrong. So I grew up thinking I couldn't do anything right and that I'm always fucking something up and that I'm just a fuck up. And I still, to this day, struggle with these kinds of thoughts. And I know it's not true. And I know that I can learn from my mistakes. And I've proved over and over in the past that I can learn and I can change and I can be better. But like I said, this is a mindset that I live and breathe and preach. So it's ridiculous to me that I was so resistant to hearing about this. But people with a fixed mindset are going to seek out other people, friends and partners who will just be an echo chamber for them, agree with everything that they say. They'll hype them up even when they're wrong and they could be doing better, because they're just further confirming what you think you already know. You're going to hang out with people who are the things that you believe about yourself, who do the things that you believe people like you will do. The worst part about it sometimes is that you don't believe that you deserve better. These people you're surrounding yourself with is the best that you can do. They're your people. You're one of them, and you don't belong in other circles. Why would you want to keep a circle of people around you who are going to keep you down and hold you back instead of finding the ones who are going to challenge you to grow? Without going into too much detail about this, I had a disagreement with a friend, a close friend. Actually, she was my best friend, and she did something that I completely disagreed with. I thought it was morally wrong, and I told her that I thought it was fucked up and that she was wrong and it wasn't cool at all. I was willing to talk it out. I was willing to talk through this, but as her friend, wanting her to do better and be better, I felt like I had a responsibility to say, like, hey, you're kind of being a dick and you're fucked up, you know? I would want someone to tell me that I'm fucking up or I'm doing something wrong or what I did was unethical. I was completely willing to talk this out with her. And I thought it was just going to be a hard conversation. We would both talk about our, perspectives on it, and that would be it. We would get through it, but she wasn't willing to talk it out and ended up blocking me and ending the friendship. And of course I was hurt at first and upset about it, but honestly, when I look back, I don't want to keep people around me that would be so quick to write me off with the slightest disagreement in the first place. It sucks. It really sucks to find out that your best friend is one of those people, but I have to be able to have these conversations, and I need to be able to I need to have people around me who can have these conversations, because I don't want someone who's just going to cheer me on and to my own demise. And we had entire conversations about how we couldn't possibly think of a reason that, we'd ever stop being friends. And we always agreed up until this point, this was our first big disagreement. So, but looking back, she never was the type of person that would give feedback. She hyped me up all the time, and I loved that. She made me feel like I was doing awesome all the time. But the actual truth is, I wasn't always doing awesome. I wasn't doing great all the time, but I felt like I needed people around me to tell me that I was doing awesome and just to make me feel better about myself, I guess, because I wasn't ready at that time to be challenged and to be pushed to be better. We can always learn from our mistakes. We know that, and it's drilled into our heads from a very young age that mistakes are going to happen, and they happen a lot, but you're not a failure until the moment that you start pointing the finger about who's to blame. And the minute you start denying that you're the problem or that you're at fault for it, that's when you stop learning from them. And at this point in my life, I choose to be around people who are taking accountability for their actions. They're pointing out when I'm fucked up. They're, giving feedback. We're talking through things, and they're just pushing me to be a better person. I no longer want to hang out with people who are just there to fluff my ego and make me feel good about myself and hype me up and never push me to be better. Statistics show that individuals with a growth mindset outperform others in career growth by 40%, and they experience 60% greater long-term happiness. Having a fixed mindset and believing that you're truly stuck where you are is always going to keep you stuck. Believing that you're capable of more will open your eyes to what could be possible for you, and you'll start to see and recognize more of those opportunities. I'm sure that you've heard the Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I actually have this written on a Post-it note on my computer. It hit me really hard the first time I heard it, and I wrote it down and put it up there so I could see it all the time, because it's so true. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Whatever it is that you believe, that's where you're going to be headed. So if you believe there's more out there for you, you're going to start finding those opportunities. You're going to start pushing yourself to be more and do more. The next type of mindset that might be holding you back is this all or nothing mindset. And this is one that I am currently battling. So the growth mindset, that's something that I practice day in, day out. I would still say I'm battling it because it's a never ending battle, but this one currently, this is a rough one for me. So it's this belief that I am this all or nothing type of person, that if I can't do something perfectly or completely, it's either not worth doing or I'm not even going to follow through on it. So the biggest example and the biggest thing that is my struggle is going to the gym. And I know I talk about this all the time. This is like a constant fight. This will probably be a lifelong battle for me, but my mindset on going to the gym is I have to go every day. if I take a rest day, I'm going to stop going. Is this true? No. Can I take rest days now? Yes, kind of. So it's not true. I just had to accept the fact that it wasn't true before I could move on and try to fix it. So how did I change that exactly? So I stopped telling myself this lie that if I take a rest day, I'm not going to go back to the gym. I just took it off the menu. It's not even an option anymore. And I changed that phrase to, I go to the gym 4 days a week because that's reasonable for me. That's doable for me. And I think it's actually much better on my body now that I've been doing that. But if I'm telling myself that I have to go to the gym every single day and I don't go to the gym every single day, I feel like a fucking failure, right? This type of mindset shows up in such a destructive way under the guise of somehow being beneficial. So I think that this will keep me going to the gym and keep me motivated and keep me on my plan. But what's actually happening is the first time I miss a workout, my week is ruined. I fucked up the plan and now I'm not going to be successful. So when it comes to work and working on projects, I'm the same way with this. So I'll start telling myself that if I can't finish the whole project that day, there's no point in starting. So I won't even start on a project. I'll work on the smaller tasks that I know I can like start and finish in one sitting. But then the problem is I never get started with the bigger projects, right? This one I don't struggle with as much because I have learned how to chunk things down and like give myself like little projects each day to chip away at these bigger things. But this is a real struggle for me for a long time. You start to feel like if you make one mistake, you're a failure. And if you don't get it perfect, you suck. Which starts this downward spiral where you made a mistake and you should just quit now. And then because of your all or nothing mindset, you're not even going to start again. You're already a failure in your mind, and then your self-esteem starts to tank, as well as your self-respect, and it just spirals out from there. The all or nothing mindset is basically perfectionism at its core, and the root is just absolute fear of failure. When we're successful in our eyes, whatever we've deemed as success, we get that dopamine hit. But when we fail, whatever it is that we're perceiving as a failure, we start to feel this emotional crash. And if we're only ever going from these high highs to these low lows, we're missing all of the good stuff in between. Our failures don't have to be taken as such a personal attack every single time. For example, I'm going to get so real with you because fuck it, right? That's the whole point. A few weeks ago, I was ready to quit the podcast. I had a really hard week. I missed an episode and I had my editor just throw together a mashup episode. The following week, I had to use another backup episode. I lost my rhythm. I felt like a failure. It was too hard and I was like, I can't fucking do this. I fucked up. It's ruined. I ruined my rhythm. I'm never going to be able to get back into it because if I'm not doing it every single week, I lose my momentum and I'll never get it started back up again. But the fighter in me realized what I was trying to do because I know better. I know myself at this point. I'm far too self-aware to just let myself quit some shit like that. So I knew I was trying to sabotage myself, and this new, more self-aware me was not going to put up with that shit. So I really considered just throwing in the towel because I can't do it right, do it perfect, do it consistently the way that I wanted to, or I didn't want to do it at all. And that's just not how life works, guys. You're going to have days like that. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be setbacks. And you're going to fuck up. You have to get over yourself, she said to herself. Just get over it. You have to get over it. Like, shit's going to happen. Aren't you tired? Aren't you tired? I am tired. I know it's wearing me down. And all it's doing is leading us straight into burnout and straight into stagnation. And my need to be all in just caught up with me and said, sit down, take a fucking break, or you're about to lose your mind. Here's another perspective that I haven't previously considered. Every time you don't go all in 100%, you miss the mark, you miss a day at the gym, you fuck up your rhythm, and you don't meet your own impossible expectations, and then you quit. you're robbing yourself of the chance to learn resilience. Those struggles, those hard times, those hard lessons, they're teaching you to be flexible and to bounce back. And if you just lay down and die afterwards, you're not only failing yourself or your expectations of yourself, but you're also failing to, at the very least, get a lesson out of it. What does E.T. say? Don't quit. Why would you quit? You're already hurting. You're already in pain. Get a reward from it. You guys don't listen to E.T., Eric Thomas? Oh my God, I love him so much. He's probably the very first, like personal development type coach I ever listened to. I just love him. Anyway, but he says, why would you quit? You're already hurting. You're already in pain. Like, you already went through all the trouble of it. Why wouldn't you get the reward from it? Why wouldn't you keep pushing and get what you're supposed to get out of it? So if you're trying to go all in 100% and you fuck it up and you're just like, oh, well, I'm not doing this anymore because I can't keep up because my expectations are too fucking high. You're quitting. You're giving up. You're also then creating the fear of getting started or restarting, which means you're just never going to start again. But let's talk about how to reframe this type of mindset. We have to replace that all or nothing belief with something is better than none. And I know how hard that is to wrap your head around when you're in it. Just trust me, I get it. And I'm sorry, I'm going to use the gym as an example again because it's just too easy. But if your plan is to work out 45 minutes a day and you have this all or nothing mindset, you're telling yourself this lie that if you can't do 45 minutes, there's no point in going, right? So you skip that day. And then you get those thoughts running through your head that your workout is ruined. The next day, you only have 20 minutes to work out again. So again, you skip the gym. And now you've missed 2 days. And now your week is really ruined. So now you don't even want to plan to go back to the gym because now you've created this fear of failure. So the truth in all of this is not that you're an all or nothing person and you have to go every day or you're going to stop going. The real truth is that you're afraid to fail. You're afraid to face the fact that you're not perfect. You're not doing things perfectly forces you to look at yourself and see your flaws. Your fear of failure is what's keeping you from going back, not the fact that you missed a day. When we can make that mental switch over to the idea of progress over perfection and something is better than nothing, then we can start to take our control back. When you say it has to be all or nothing, you're literally telling yourself, I'm not in control. I can't control this. I have no ability to work on this. And you are taking the easy way. You have to build up your resilience. You have to start building your habits. And the only way to do that is through consistency, not with intensity. You just have to show up. Show up to the gym. Can we agree that going for 30 minutes and 15 minutes is better than saying, I can't do 45 minutes and I'm just not going to go? Can we agree that publishing a mashup episode when you're overwhelmed is better than quitting the podcast completely? Listen, I'm all about setting big goals and working to achieve them, but the entire idea behind that is that you set your goals super big so when you fall short, you still fall somewhere big and you still pushed yourself. And if you fall short, you still have to celebrate that you showed up and you keep showing up and you keep coming back. So what if you didn't do it perfectly? You did it and you'll get it next time. And you keep showing up and you keep trying because quitting isn't an option. It's not the solution. Everyone struggles with these mindset mistakes sometimes in one way or another. You're not alone, but it's possible to retrain the way that you're thinking so that you don't get stuck there. It's uncomfortable to change your mindset. It's nice and comfy there. It's familiar and you know what to expect and you're content where you are. But if you start noticing and acknowledging these thoughts that you're having, you can start to object to them and you can start to replace them. I still have these thoughts. Let me be clear. You're not ever going to be able to control your thoughts. You can't control the thoughts that pop into your head. You can only control your reactions to them. It's just like I tell my kids all the time. Can't control what other people do. You can only control how you react to them. It's the same thing with your thoughts. I'm not suggesting you start giving the thoughts in your head a whole new persona and naming them, but they're just thoughts. They don't mean anything until you give them meaning. So if a thought comes through that doesn't match the narrative that you've decided for yourself, You don't let it control your actions. If a thought pops into my head that says, oof, geez, been a rough day, we should drink about it, I'm not heading to the bar. I've got 10 years sober. I'm thinking, who the fuck let Mel in here? You're drunk, go home. I'm not listening to that. If a thought pops into my head telling me I can't be a successful business owner because no one in my family has ever been successful in business, I'm not closing up my shop tomorrow and going back to work for somebody else. I'm choosing to push away the thoughts that aren't serving me, and I'm looking for all of the evidence why these thoughts don't align with my beliefs anymore, and I'm choosing to not give them any meaning. If you can start to filter and redirect your thoughts, you can start to change your actions, and changing your actions changes your outcome. And I want to give you guys some homework for this episode. My first time assigning homework, so don't be mad at me. But this week, every day, I want you to try and catch and rewrite one of these recurring negative thoughts that you're having. And I want you to try and spin it in a positive way and see if you can start to redirect your thoughts and stop giving meaning to the ones that don't matter.